All right, good morning and welcome to the webinar. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us. This webinar is produced by the Child Parent Institute in partnership with the CATA Center, a project of the Center for Innovation and Resources, and the Greater Bay Area Child Abuse Prevention Council Coalition. Before we begin, I just want to cover a few housekeeping items. For those of you who can hear me, this might seem obvious, but to anyone who may have their sound turned off or muted, this is a visual reminder that you must turn on your sound to hear the presentation. Use the Q&A feature to ask the presenter any questions that you may have. We will reserve some time at the end for Q&A, beginning with some questions that were emailed prior to today's session. The chat panel is where you can ask tech support questions. We will respond to the support questions as soon as possible. We are offering CEUs for this webinar to MFTs and LCSWs. At the end of the course, you'll be prompted to complete an evaluation and CEU application in order to receive CEUs. If you are able, please consider making a donation to the shared fund that goes to providing more webinars in this series. To donate, you can go to calparents.org/donate. Now I'd like to do an introduction for our speaker today. Anthony Trucks is a former NFL athlete, American Ninja Warrior on NBC, international speaker, host of the Awe Shift podcast, and the founder of Identity Shift Coaching. He uses cutting-edge science and psychology to upgrade how you operate so you can elevate your life and business to reach your full potential. After being given away into foster care at 3 years old, being adopted into an all-white family at 14, losing his NFL career to injury, and more, he learned how to shift at a very young age, and now his life mission is teaching others how to make shift happen in their lives. So please bear with me a moment, and I'll turn the mic over to Anthony.
Hey, am I ready to go? Can everybody? I can't see anybody at all, which is very interesting because I like seeing people's faces. But you guys who are here, thank you for coming and hanging out with us today. I'm gonna show you guys some cool things. And my thing in terms of what I do is shift. But just so I know you guys are hearing me well, if you wouldn't mind putting like the Q&A, like hey or a thumbs up or something, so I know you're here. That way Emma makes sure that we're all good and I am being heard, because the worst thing could be is me talking a whole lot and nobody hearing me. We got a hey. I like that. See, now I know you guys are there. Good morning, Crystal, Belinda, Amanda. See, I got all excited because I like human beings. So Belinda's here, Crystal's here, Liz, good morning. It looks like Aliska, Linda, there's too many names. Good morning, all. Thumbs up. I love it. So here's the thing. Today, I have no idea why you guys are here specifically. Maybe you're here for CEUs. Maybe you're just here to learn some cool stuff. But here's the thing. I'm going to share my heart with you, as well as sharing some cool concepts you can apply to your life. I'm always a guy that looks at the perspective of what I see in the world, and it's not just good enough to tell a cool story. The big thing for me is making sure you absorb something from the story, and then you can actually progressively put it into your life, because that's what we're here, right? We're here to learn something we can actually use and apply somewhere. So I'm going to run you guys through my life, just so you know. I'm a guy that's had a whole bunch of weird stuff in my life that's been great, and I've also experienced some not so great things. You'll find out more about that in a moment. But if we're ready to rock and roll, good morning, Traffic Thursday to everyone. Terrific Thursday. Traffic Thursday. I was like, are we driving places? Beautiful. So let's go. So we're talking about fostering a future. For me, in the world of what I do, it's all about the future, right? I have children. I have a 16-year-old son. I have 11-year-old twins. And my goal in this life is, man, to have them have an amazing future. But I also am a product of the foster care environment. I had a resource family, right? Back then, they were called foster families. If you hear me kind of use the vernacular in and out, it's not on purpose. It's just that it's a new concept for me to be learning, but I'm pretty good at staying in line. So there are a lot of resource families out there, and you guys might be one of them. Maybe you're involved in some capacity. Maybe you are one. Maybe you're a foster child like I was. Today, I'm going to share a whole bunch of cool things you can do to look at what we're experiencing in this world. I think it's a superpower. I think one of the things that I didn't realize till my later on years is, man, there's phenomenal people out there serving, and I actually have a real strength, a positive outcome because of what I went through. So without further ado, let's dig into this. My big thing in life is helping people do what I call, which is making shift happen. Now you get it. If you remove the F, it makes sense. It's one of those words like we all want to make something special happen, right? Whether it's make something happen in our families, make something happen in our lives, make something happen in our bank account, right? Our body. You want to make something cool happen. Excitement is that motion that we like to experience. Like it's a cool thing to be able to have a world that we live in where we get to make something special happen. Because when it does, man, you feel good about yourself. You get to like, I feel like I love myself. I create this cool sense of confidence and pride. And to be totally honest, like it comes from a space where when it's all you, it's so much better. And we have people here. I'm loving it. I see that Kimberly's an adoption worker, which is, man, thank you. Because I was adopted at 14. And man, it's a big game changer for my life. Literally a game changer, like a life changer. So people like yourself, everybody else here tuned in, thank you. Because if you're here right now, you're here because you're involved in some way with helping someone like myself or who I was. And so I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the work you do. I work with massive organizations and different corporations. We got Casa people in here. I've done a lot for the court-appointed special advocates, Casa. Love you guys, man. Yes, I feel so good, man. This is good. You guys are my people because this is the deepest connection to the work that I do. That's beyond just the job I have, right? I work with organizations like PayPal and Amazon, and we just are starting to work with T-Mobile here. But to be totally honest, like this is where my heart lies because this is my life. Like I'm going to talk about my life living in the world that you guys are immersed in every single day. So thank you. But here's what I do. I usually take people to this one moment. And the moment I want you to get to with me is this moment where we're talking about pretty much sitting. If I can get my slides advanced forward, I want you to think about sitting in a space where it's just you and you're on. We'll call it this bed, and we'll call it the back end of your years, twilight edges of your years, and you're in this space where like you're laying down, you're not hurting, you're not sick, but we do know it's kind of the final hours. We'll call it. And I want you to picture yourself there, genuinely, like take yourself to this moment, and you're okay. You're not hurting. There's no pain. But you kind of like you're like a little bit sleepy, we'll call it. Like you woke up on a Thursday morning, you're a little bit sleepy, still tucked away in bed. And then as you kind of open your eyes, you kind of you hear like this voice, and it's kind of talking. You can't hear what it's saying. And you kind of open your eyes, and it's outside of a door. The door opens up, and then something, some person walks in, close the door, and then as you're sitting in the bed and you're looking at the door to your left-hand side, you kind of see this figure walk in front of you. Now you can't make it out perfectly, but you just kind of see this figure, and it gets to the foot of the bed, and then it just says your name. And it's interesting because the voice you hear, like it's familiar but unfamiliar at the same time. And the voice kind of says your name, and then you kind of like rub your eyes a little bit and you open up and you look at you. It's you. It's odd. It's not, it's like a weird, like it's you looking back at you. And this you walks around to the bed, and it sits on your right-hand side. And this person sits down, and they kind of, they lean on a little bit, and they grab your right hand. And as you're sitting there, kind of just, look at this person just starts to share an amazing story. All the things that were accomplished, the things that were created, all these cool things that took place. It all just kind of gets unpacked, and it's all shared in this amazing way. And you get excited. You're like, man, what a cool story. Like, and then for a moment it sets in. And what sets in is this. This is you, but it's not your life. It's a life that was one you could have had. Had you taken the step in the right direction, maybe you did those things that scared you, worked a little bit harder towards a direction. Maybe you took that opportunity, that chance that was a little bit scary. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but man, it scares me a little bit. Like this could be the thing, but you never took those chances. And so you got to sit back and you lived your life, and it was okay, but it wasn't great. And then a little bit of, we'll call it FOMO, regret sets in. Like, man, what could I have done that could have made me be the person sitting on the bed, not lying in the bed? And today I want to talk about, like, in my perspective, what I believe that can be and how you can do that. How you can live this amazing life to where you get to the back end of your life and you live a life worth telling a story about. One, people love to hear. They want to share. Your grandkids come around you in the rocking chair and hang out, and they want to hear the stories and all these cool things. And you know the impact you made on lives. Maybe it's not even your grandkids. Maybe it's the kids or grandkids of the kids you helped. Those who got to a situation where they didn't have anybody to lean on, but you were there to lean on. That's the idea I want to talk about today. And so for me, as we get into this, like that is the key. So we already addressed it. My name is Anthony Trucks, but really at the end of the day, the big thing I focus on is the last person you ever want to meet on your deathbed is the person you could have been. It's a very different thing, right? The person you could have been. You don't want to meet that person. You want to meet the person that you are. So that's me. Let's rock and roll. Here's my what I get to do in this world. I have been blessed to be able to play in the NFL, which is a really cool experience. I got to play at the highest level in the world for my sport, and it was crazy. Here's the funny thing, though. Football, it's injury laden, right? So my career ended in 2008 based on a left shoulder injury. I tore my shoulder. So NFL for me stands for not for long. It's not the longest thing you do, and it kind of is crazy, man. A little bit. I played with the Buccaneers, the Redskins, and the Steelers, Jennifer. So had some cool times, man. My name is Royce, and I am a father, mother. Oh man, black young men who are 14 and 16. I'm the legal guardian. I love this. I'm over here seeing these different areas. She says, "Go Miami." It's okay. After I got done playing, believe me, I just quite literally don't care. I love watching like sports, but I'm not worried about the teams anymore. And then from there, I got a chance to play a different kind of thing, if you want to call it that. I competed in American Ninja Warrior. So I, in 2017, became the first former NFL player to hit a buzzer on NBC's American Ninja Warrior, which is a really cool, odd thing. So I say all that to say, look, my life started super odd, and I'm going to break my entire life down for you in a moment. But I got to this point where I'm living this life that doesn't feel real sometimes. Like it's super. I am in my home, in my studio, talking to people across the world, 211 individuals that are somewhere in the world that have amazing hearts, and I'm going to impact your life in a really unique way. This is not a norm, but I love that I've been blessed to have the opportunity to do this past the crazy of my life. And the reality is I love doing it. And I want to have you take the same things that I've been able to take into my life and put it to a space where you get to walk away and someday look like this person on the mountaintop and say, I got this thing done. I lived an amazing life, right? That's what I want for you. So we're gonna teach you some things today, and let's get into this. Right, the first step on the path to getting to this place is owning your shift. Now, the word in of itself, the word collection, again, you got to own your shift. You got to own your stuff, right? And there's levels where I've had to learn this the hard way. Unfortunately, it hasn't always been easy. And as you know and I know, life is a crazy mess, man. Life, I find, is what happens between your plans. But on top of that, when we have things that are going on in life, we don't always want to accept the fact that we are the common denominator in all of our life's problems. Somewhere on the lines, we're involved, whether it's our fault or our fault for not responding in the right way. But in some capacity, we become the people that are like, we're the roadblocks, and it's not that fun. The ego gets in the way, but I found in my life that owning my shift was the catalyst to the first step. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're doing a great job. But if you want to do more, if you want to get to that next tier, you have to be able to see the area that you don't want to see. Take the feedback you don't want to take. Open your heart up to feedback and insights and honestly information that maybe you don't like hearing. It might hurt your heart a little bit. To be honest, for me, it came in like really difficult ways. But the more I did it, the more I found that was always the key to me getting better, finding out what I got to work on. And when you do that, it gives you permission to improve. If you don't find it out or don't look at it, you never give yourself permission to improve or get to that amazing life that you can look back on and say, that was a great life, right? So the idea is, as we look at the next stage, is like, for me, I want to tell you my story. I grew up at 3 years old. My real mom, she called social services and she told them that she didn't want her kids anymore. And it was me, my brother Connor, my sister Shameen, my sister Portia. And we were all pretty much shipped off into a very heinous system. I was put in, different shopping carts pushed down hills towards moving traffic. I was starved at a certain house. I was put in chicken coops and forced to chase chickens around the coop. And if I was lucky enough to catch the chicken, I got to eat that night. And if not, I was sneaking out of my room trying to snag whatever I could from the kitchen and getting beat for taking food. There was houses where I was forced to lick the bottom of neighbor kids' shoes till my tongue bled. And this was all between the age of 3 to 6. So by 6 years old, I was a very shut off, unhappy, like unworthy feeling little kid. And so not only that, but like my real mom's not around. I don't know, my siblings are out. So not only was I lonely, but I was like lonely and I was angry and I was lost and I was confused and I didn't feel like I mattered. And so I didn't have any reason to really push on to do much in life. And so I got to this house at 6 years old. And you guys know how it goes. You end up showing up at a house and they don't know who you are. I don't know who they are. And for me, this is my family. Now, this is me later on years, but if you can't see me, I'm the guy in the back top right corner. I'm tucked into the background, quite literally, like my shirt matches the backdrop. But for me, like I got to this point where like I show up at this home and we grew up in that family, like really poor, only black kid and all white family, but a ton of love, ton of dysfunction because we're people, but ton of dysfunction, but a ton of love. That woman you see there, that's my mom, man. That's Gina Renee Hart. And when I first got to this home, Gina, man, she had this husband that was a bad husband, man. He used to beat me and he used to beat her. My last memory was of him beating her and then leaving the house, never coming back. Just not a really good guy, And then she eventually remarried the guy you see there. It's my dad, Randy. And Randy, here's the crazy thing. He is only 12 years older than me. My dad is only 12 years older than me. Imagine having a kid at 12 and then that's your son. Like that's how the dynamic is. But we had some weird, like cool, great upbringing, so to speak. So we didn't have much, not much money. I mean, roaches in the garage. We had mice in the pantry. I would get my clothes out of a black garbage bag in the middle of the room area. It would be so wrinkled. I'd go to school. I would get made fun of because you couldn't even see the logo. I've got a pair of Nike Cortezes. I remember one year. We didn't have money to buy a bunch of shoes. And I'm an active kid. I had run holes in the side of my shoes. So I was lacing the shoe holes up with paper clips. Like this was my life coming up. So I didn't have much. I didn't come from much. I didn't really believe I deserved and desired much. And on top of that, my real mom's in the background. She's just making life hectic. And so we lived a lot of years, man, through this environment at 14. However, I was blessed to be able to go and like finally stand up in front of a judge, look at my real mom and say, I no longer want you to be my mom anymore. And it freed me. Prior to that, I couldn't play sports, couldn't do much, couldn't travel. And I was able to now go and do something that that I think is really cool. I could hit people and never get in trouble for it. And this is what we call football. If you see back here behind me, there's a helmet. Like this is one of my helmets. But I got to play this game that I loved. Like I loved when I was at recess, I'd run around all day and I would destroy those little kids. I put a helmet on. They destroyed me. Like the first 2 years of me playing football was horrible. I was bad. I couldn't do the game. And you know what this is like. When you take on some new venture that your heart is desiring to do, sometimes, oftentimes, unfortunately, you were not good at it. We actually are met with the fact that we are not good at it. And we feel the emotion of how bad we suck. And the world tells you you're doing a bad job. You look in the mirror and say, man, you're doing a bad job. And so in these moments, man, I didn't, to be honest, to own your shift. I didn't own the fact that I wasn't supposed to be good. So I had this combative mentality of I hate the games, all this stuff. And then after I get adopted, I play football. My mom gets diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I'm in this situation where I'm like, man, my mom is sick and I'm playing this game. And I'm like, man, I don't even know where I fit because the dynamic of my family is all over the place now. And I remember making a decision that I was going to be great. Sounds odd, but it's a decision. Like we all have a chance to make a decision every day. And at 15 years old, I made this choice. Like I'm going to be great. I don't know how. At 15 years old, it's like I'm gonna get girls' phone numbers, and then I'm gonna I'm gonna get to sports, right? So I chose both. I'm not gonna lie, but I wasn't like that kind of guy. I was like this guy that loved. I dug into sports, but actually cut everybody off. There were no girls. There was no place. I wanted to be phenomenal at football, and I got real good. I dug in. I did all the stuff that was uncomfortable that I didn't want to do. I owned my shift and realized if you're going to be great at this, you have to do more than makes logical sense, that feels right in the moment. You have to do it kind of hurts, honestly, physically and emotionally, cut people off, spend that time in certain areas, make commitments, make sacrifices. And I did. And it led me to get a college scholarship, which was an amazing blessing. I got a chance to go play college football at the University of Oregon, which is not where most foster kids go. As you guys know, statistics, man, prisons in America, 75% of the inmates are like me, half our homeless population, and less than 1% of us ever graduate from college. On top of that, I was the only kid in my family of 6 to go to college, let alone graduate from the high school without a GED or a continuation school. Like I was a weird oddity. And then the cool thing was I get to go to college, and I'm homecoming king in my high school. That's a weird one. And then on top of that, I'm the cutest couple with my girlfriend at the time. And then by the time I get to college, she's my fiance. She ends up coming up to college with me, goes to school, and we do what I do not recommend you do. We had a kid at 20 years old. And man, here's the crazy thing. Most people were like, weren't you scared? Weren't you worried? No, I now got to give back to a life in a way that was never given to me. Like it was such a cool, weird, awesome experience for me. And I've always loved being a father more than you comprehend or anybody can. Like I love my kids. I love my family. It still amazes me that my kids are in my home, right? I wake up and my kids are here. They're not at somebody else's in a foster system or in a resource family. Like it's a very interesting dynamic, right? It still unsells me in a positive way, we'll call it. And so I'm working through my life and I get to the point where eventually I meet my real dad at 20 years old. This ball you see right here. My very first collegiate start happened against Mississippi State. I'd found my dad, national television. We won the game, and I got a game ball and met him. Like that was a collective, amazing day. And I got a football that actually shows the day it took place, which was an amazing. I mean, it's just cool. I really enjoyed that moment. Then life progresses on. I get out of college and I get a chance to play in the NFL. And actually, right before, so I get to marry this amazing woman, my wife, Christina. Like I get to meet her and into high school, and we work together, and we end up right before we go into the NFL, like we get married in Hawaii and Maui. And man, everything was where it's supposed to be. Everything was where it's supposed to be. And that's what we deserve. We desire that, right? So you work really cool, like lives, we work in a cool direction for that. And man, as much as it was amazing, like life got real hard, and life gets hard for all of us. So I'm going to the NFL. NFL is difficult, ups and downs. I'm signed by team, cut by team, signed by team, cut by team, signed by team, lose my career. I come home and I lose my sense of self. I mean, as a foster kid, to lose football, like my career got ended, to lose that, I lost everything that made me feel like I mattered in the world. And we don't have many people that give us that. We don't have many situations. I love the game and what it taught me, but it's really hard in those moments. And sometimes we all get in those situations where I'm trying to figure out how do we foster this sense of self, right? And what you realize is like I'd lost the aim of football, and here's where things hit ahead, and we're fostering a future is a big part. And for me, a big part of my family is I got to the point we all arrive at some point in time. It all just comes tumbling down. So I come home, I lose football. Because of that, I'm focused on the wrong things. I end up trying to build this gym business. I neglect my wife and kids. So I'm not a good father or husband. My marriage falls apart. I'm out of shape. The business is not looking very well. I don't even like myself. Like everything, to be totally honest, came crashing down. At one point I said, if this is life after football, I don't want any of this. And I drove off one night, sent a text to my friends and family, said, please tell my kids who their father was. I'm not making this up. Like this genuinely happened. And I thankfully took no actions, but I was found by sitting somewhere, letting kind of emotion subside. And I ended up going back home, and I had a few moments with some key people in life that planted some seeds of like, you got to figure this thing out. And I was in a fog. We all go in this fog for a little bit, unfortunately. And the fog was like, what do I do with this life? How do I make this thing come to be something great someday, right? How do I do this? And what I didn't realize was I was always not sure who I was, and everything was topsy-turvy. And we do this. We work towards stuff, don't know who we are sometimes, lose sight of situations, lose sight of opportunities. Everything falls by the wayside, unfortunately, right? So I come back and I spent 2 years in a fog. And I say that because you guys know what a fog is like. Like a fog is that situation where like you're moving, you're grooving, you're doing your stuff, but sometimes you're just going through the days. It doesn't feel like there's progress. It doesn't feel like I'm making headway. No matter how hard I work towards something, it just doesn't, nothing seems to be moving. I feel like I'll just get up and go through the day. I'm still alive, still doing my thing, still eating, still whatever, right? But we don't really have this vigor and this vibrancy for life. And we fall short of greatness that's really out there for us. I believe that life has an amazing plan for us. We just sometimes fall short of it. We sometimes forget it, or we get in the way. We get in the way with weird things we do. Let's be honest. I did the same thing, right? So the idea is like, how do we move past this? And I got to a moment that cleared the fog, I'll call it. And it was April 15th, 2014. I was in there was a Kaiser inside of Antioch, California, where I actually grew up as Antioch, California. And my mom and my dad and my grandma and me are in a hospital room. And my mom's in a bed. My dad and grandma are opposite of me. My mom's unconscious. I'm on her right side, holding her right hand. And we're all watching the heart rate monitor, and it just keeps declining. And I remember looking up and watching her inhale and then exhale her final breath. Just gone. And it's one of those things where like you realize real quick how short life is, how fragile it is. She had lost her 17-year battle with MS, and she had done something special that I don't think that I even comprehended till those moments. Now, prior to her passing, I had some moments with her alone. I had like an hour before I got to sit in the same room, other side of the bed, and I just talked to her. She couldn't hear me because she was on life support, but I had made two very distinct promises. Promise one was, Mom, I'm going to figure this thing out. I'm going to figure out how to get my life back to the place that you had loved me enough to be able to break me out of this crazy emotional area, love me through the crazy to get me to a place of joy and hope. And then two, when I do that, I'm going to do what you did for me. I'm going to find a way to unconditionally love on people in this world to help them reach a higher potential. And so that was my journey towards making part one work, making that promise come to life. So I had to figure my life out. And this is where owning the shift came into play. I had to look in and say, man, Anthony, there's a lot of stuff you're not doing right. You got to figure out. I wasn't the best husband. I wasn't the best father. I wasn't even the best business owner, to be honest. I just wasn't the right person. I wasn't doing what I needed to do. And it got to a point where I realized like the person I was, not that I had to change, but I had to update how I was doing things. This is where my work is in shift. It's identity. I'd always been battling identity my entire life. The foster kid, the only black kid, the athlete, non-athlete, young dad, two fathers. Like, how do you do all? And I never settled in to figure out who do I want to be, right? Who do I want to be? Who do I need to be? And so I started having this conversation. To be honest, it wasn't a quick one. It takes years. It took me 2 more years past that to finally wake up one day on New Year's and look at myself in the mirror and say, I don't like you, Ant. I don't like you. I don't like spending time with you, Anthony. I don't like spending quiet spaces with you. Like I didn't like him and I had to figure out why don't I like me? And I dug and I dug and I found out some really unfortunate things about how I was seen and what I was doing. And I wasn't hurting anybody's life, but I wasn't building mine up. And so the reality is set in of I got to do something. And so this woman who you see here, my mom, man, when she passed, she set a seed in me that helped me create a different life. And it led me on a pathway to, yes, getting to a point of feeling eventually like, man, this life sucks. I don't like this guy. What do I do from here? But then I got to the point of this kind of moment. And these are the moments that matter the most. And these moments are the ones where I stand up and I can say, I've been able to create an amazing marriage. I've been able to create an amazing family. I've been able to create an amazing future for my life. And I had this feeling of like, holy crap, thank you, Lord. Thank you, life. Like this is amazing. And I get to live it and give it back. I am now in a space of making good on promise number 2. And that's why I'm here doing this now. Like I love the ability to come and share ideas and thoughts with you that hopefully settle in and give you sometimes a message you've never heard, or if you have heard it, to rehear it, to re-anchor it, to resettle it in, so you can take this piece and go, now it's time. This year's the time to do it. I'm going to get some things moving. And here's what I look at, man. You got to first go back and reframe the failures. So when I say reframe failures, go look at those things that happened in the past that you've deemed as failures and said, I'm a failure, and reframe them. Like, no, I wasn't a failure. I made a bad choice. I did the wrong thing, or I wasn't living at my full potential, but I can learn from that. I can do more. I can be better today, not tomorrow, but today. So when I get to that deathbed, I'm prepared. I feel great. I'm the person sitting on the bed, not lying on the bed. And it all comes from what you do to reframe the past. Because if you live from the past and only see the negative, you'll believe you're negative. You'll feel it's who you are. When the reality is, it's never been you. You've never been that negative person. You've made bad choices. Maybe you didn't step up and push the hardest, but you've always been a good human that's trying the best you can. I'm telling you, there's more depth there. Reframe the failure. That version of you wasn't the best. That's okay. What'd you learn? Reapply, become a new person. Like recome them. I say that like become, but recome, because you've been a great person before. Become a new person. Do more in that same capacity. And then for me, the next piece is, now that you know this, you got to get shift started. Like once you have this knowledge, because I had that knowledge and a lot of us know things, but we don't apply things. Let's be honest. Common sense is not always common practice in life. You may know something. I guarantee there's something you know right now you should have been doing the last year, 2 years, 3 years, hasn't been done. And I'm human too. I've got a lot of these same things going on in life. But the reality is, where do you dip back into your life and say, where can I grab and extract this thing and finally move on it? Finally help, finally serve and create. Because here's the thing. If you want to foster an amazing future, an amazing foundation for your life, in the organization you're in the family you're in, the people you serve, it comes from you getting goals going, getting things started, getting movement in motion. The magic is in the motion. Getting things started is where it becomes getting shift started, I call it. And I look back at my life and I'm like, where did this all take place? Where did it start? And really what it was, when I was 15 years old, this is young Ant, we'll call it young Anthony. I was this kid. And there was a moment where I chose to be great. And here's what that moment was. And I'm going to say this to you because it'll make sense. But I had this thought of, I'm a nobody. I'm a foster kid, man. I don't matter. There's nobody. My mom is here, but she's sick. Nobody else cares about me. The sport I'm playing, I kind of suck at this. I make these excuses. You're a foster kid, dude. You're not supposed to do great. People like you don't do well. I seriously had it in my head running. I was in Mr. Howell's English class in a portable, Antioch High School, freshman year, 15 years old, in a back right corner, checked out of class, I had a black parka over my head, sleeping. I would like halfway sleep through the class. And he had this little kind of love seat next to the desks. His desk was far opposite of me. And there's a love seat over here. And there was 2 girls talking. And one girl says to the other girl, no idea I'm listening. And she says, well, the reason I'm so bad is because I'm in foster care. And to be honestly, not a really crazy statement, but here's the unique piece of it. I got to hear my excuse out loud and hear how unsettling it was. Sometimes we're not given that gift to hear, well, the reason I'm not doing this is because, I'm a foster kid. The reason I didn't run today, I couldn't find my shoes. The reason I didn't, give my kids love and hug them and tell them I love them is because I was tired. And is that, you're going to really say that excuse and live that? Like, that's how we're going to go. And for me at 15, I learned that lesson of, you got to do something different. And I had this weird catalyst inside become this moment of like, I'm going to figure something out. I'm going to do better, be better. I'm going to find a way to push. And that led me down a pathway to working in a direction. This is what I'm going to tell you, this direction. This is one of the most important pieces I want you to pull from this. You have to work towards something to be successful before you know you'll be successful. And I know that in our world, what we do with foster kids as resource families, it's hard. It's hard. My mom for years tried to love me, and I did not show her any signs I would ever give that love back. My foster mom, honestly, for a lot, I was just bad. I was this guy who was just like a kid. I didn't feel accepted. I didn't feel like I identified. I was in trouble at school, in trouble at home, had no, like, I was ADHD all over the place. But she, man, illogically loved me. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, she put the work in to be successful with having a loving son before she knew she'd be successful. It was that energy that led to me becoming this guy I am now. But I didn't even know back then I was doing the same thing for sports. I put the energy and I put the effort. I built the muscles, built the pride. And here's the crazy thing. When I showed up that next year, from freshman to sophomore year, I was an animal. I was a different guy. That ball in the air, you better not even consider taking it. It's my ball. Don't you even think about running past me. I'm tackling you. Don't you dare think it's your right to tackle me. There's no way, right? I earned this. This is my moment. I did everything in the dark to shine in the light. And I say to you the same thing. What are you doing in the dark so you can shine in the light and not just look good, but know to your heart's core you've done all the stuff necessary to where you earn the right to say, I am a great foster parent. I'm a great adoption worker. I'm a great whatever, because you did that work when no one was watching. And it helps you lead that life, and not just to do it because you're supposed to, but because you want the return on the investment. And the more you do it, the more you lean in, the better the outcome is. I'm telling you, there's walls up. A lot of trust issues, a lot of emotional walls with kids like me. We just don't want to let anybody in. But I'm telling you, the ones that change lives are the ones that go past logic. My mom, I said before, loved me past logic. It didn't make sense, but she stayed the course, and she was successful at helping me change my life. And in doing so, I now get to change lives. And once you have this perspective of time, and now the big thing is you got to make shift happen. This is the big third piece of how I work people through stuff. It's like, I got to get things started, but I got to actually see it through. It's not enough to begin. It's enough to end, right? To complete, to conclude, to find, to get point, to get everything to come to fruition. It's not enough to try things, right? For me, I'm all about triumph. What have you done over the time, the longevity? And it takes time, and it is enduring, and it tests you. Oh my gosh, does it test you? But it grows you at the same time, right? You don't go to a weight room and lift a weight one time and build muscle. It's the years of building a muscle over time, lifting those weights. It's difficult, but the more that you get things started and keep them started, the more you make happen, right? That's the beauty of how it all works. And the way I'm going to give you a piece and a key for this is I want you to think about not just what you want to do, but who do you want to be? It's a big question that I had to answer, because whenever I was going through my hiatus, fixing my life and getting my life back on track, it wasn't about what I knew, because I knew what to do. I had the people, right? But it's who did I want to be with what I was doing, right? Who was I? And there's 6 core areas of this. You can write them down if you want to, but it's totally up to you. But you have to think about being the best version of you. What does the best version of you look like? What is what I call your ideal identity? The ideal identity of the human being living your life, who has your happiness, has your joy. Who are they? And here's what you look at. What are their beliefs? What do they believe about themselves, believe about the world around them? What are the thoughts running in their head all day long? Are they positive, optimistic? What's their disposition, right? How are the thoughts running? What are the big actions that they take in the direction of their dreams? Where are they going, right? Because some people don't take the action necessary to lead into a dream place they really want to be. But what realistically are your actions you take? Then the overlap between beliefs and thoughts is called your mindset. If my belief believes this and my thoughts are in line, man, like where's the mindset for stuff? Because if my beliefs are here and they say, you're great, you should do this, my thoughts go, yeah, but can you? But do you? Well, the mindset's weak, and now I can't go where I want to go. So start thinking about what's that ideal identity's beliefs, thoughts, and the mindset that comes from that. Then between thoughts and actions, I think I should do this. Do I do it consistently? We have habits. Your habits create you. Literally, your habits over time, they create who you are, because you are what you consistently do. And a lot of people don't have good habits, or they have haphazard habits. But you got to think about it. What are the things that I do consistently to become that person? Because here's the unique piece. You've become somebody now. You are somebody right now, right this moment. You became this person by being someone every day. How you see things, how joy you have, how you handle hardships, how you see opportunity, how you're nice to people or not nice to people, how you cross someone in the hallway. Do you smile? Do you drive fast, drive slow? You've been being somebody, and you've now become this person today. So logic would tell you, if you want to become somebody different in a higher level, who will you start being every day habitually? And then a key piece is between your beliefs and your actions. Now, we all believe we're supposed to do something special to some extent. For some people, they're going to be the next, Oscar-winning actor. For some people, you're going to be the next amazing resource family for 2 kids, and that's great. That's still great in my book. But the reality is, if you believe you're supposed to do something and you don't take the action, you lose that sense of personal pride. Like, think about it. If I know I'm supposed to work out today and I didn't work out, I lose that little piece of like, you're amazing. Like, no, you're not. You missed your workout, Aunt. And just so you know, I got my workout in today. I get up at 5:30. I get my workout in. I couldn't show up and talk to you guys and miss my things. Like, I got to make sure I'm in line with Aunt, right? The ideal identity for my dreams. It's simple things, but they create momentum. So what are the beliefs and actions that you have lined up, and are you taking them to build that sense of pride and persona that you're like, man, I'm amazing? Because here's what I've realized. You may write this one down too. Over time, the creation process is difficult. It's arduous. However, what you create creates you. Repeat this. What you create creates you. That process of creation, of investment, of enduring, of leaning in, there's no way you get through that and don't come out of it and go, look at me, I'm amazing. Like when you've leaned in and loved forever, for years on somebody, you don't come out of that and say, I'm just kind of person that did some things. No, you love, you're an amazing mom, you're an amazing coach, you're an amazing teacher, an amazing resource, amazing ambassador, whatever it might be. You're an amazing worker in his capacity because you leaned in. And that creation process is arduous. Think about Michelangelo's David. He made the David statue. You telling me that guy chiseled off these little pieces of rock for probably hours. I mean, I'm thinking years, just chiseled. You tell him he got done with that creation, busted fingers, bloody knuckles, and goes, yeah, I made a sculpture. No, he's a sculptor. Difference. It's a whole different, when you think in that mentality, that is why you stay the course. That's why you keep on moving, because the creation and process of creating relationships, fostering a unique future, it all comes back to who are you creating through the actions that also create the pride and sense of self for who you are. Like that for me has been the key piece in all these aspects of my life. Is now when I look at what I want to do, it's not about who I want to become only. It's like, who am I being daily to become this person I've crafted and put out in front of me? And you know who you want that person to be. You know who it is. It's hard to be him every day. Let's be honest. It's not easy. But the idea is we have a vision of it. So what do? What are the beliefs, the thoughts, the actions, the mindset, the habits, and the ego and the personal pride we have to be able to say, I am this person. And then how do you start creating that direction? For me, the most beautiful things have come of it, man. And doing this whole process, I've been able to play in the NFL, be an American Ninja Warrior on TV, and travel the world and talk to literally thousands of people at once. This lowly foster kid that nobody gave a chance to kid. To be honest, if I look back at my own past, like I don't even give me a chance. I was bad. I got in 16 fights in 6th grade. I mean, night and day. I believe if I probably saw some teachers from back then, they would not believe it's the same guy, even though nobody else has my name besides my son, right? It's just this unique thing where I realized it was just a matter of how can I go through quite literally the exact same things I'm telling you and get other people to follow the process to get there. So for you in your life, this is what the outcome is. Right. You may not really see the end of the tunnel sometimes, but I'm telling you this to pause for a moment. I am the end of the tunnel of your work. I am. The kid that honestly, there was people, I had social workers. I had people that showed up. I had judges that helped out. I had amazing people. I had an amazing mom. And people think it's insignificant. Like, it's no big deal. But I'm telling you, look at what I get to do now because of someone like yourself. I get to do this and I get to touch lives in ways that logically makes 0 sense. Statistically doesn't make sense. If you take into account the prison aspects, the homeless aspects, the career, the college aspects, less than 1% of us graduate from college. I sold a business that was 10 years old. That's like a 0.01%. I played in the NFL. 0.002% of human beings, or even football players, get to do that. It's not a reality that you could put on paper and say, yep, that makes sense. And the only reason is because somebody loved me like you guys love on these kids. And I love you for that. And this is the reality of what takes place. So if you guys are like, how do I do this? First piece, own your shift. Figure out what you got to work on for you. Don't adopt the world's aspects. What do you got to do for you that helps things be better? 2, where can you get shift started? And I mean, not just one thing every day. How do you create the momentum to get the rolling in the right direction? How do you get shift started for your life? And then how do you make shift happen and celebrate it? How do you make some amazing, cool, crazy happen and then celebrate that whole process as time goes on? Like, that is an amazing piece of it. And then for me, like when I did that, I fixed my life. I got my wife and my family back together. My wife and I got divorced, 3 years divorced, and that's the normalcy, right? We even have twins. The statistics for that are even higher. but I was able to, 3 years later, we mended a marriage. We're now 4 years deep in an amazing God-centered marriage. My kids have their father and mother in one home, happy. Like, I'm not saying like kind of like they get to see me love her and she loves me. Man, it's a beautiful thing. And almost it fills my heart to where it's an uncomfortable level of happy that I do have moments of the foster kid that says, but do you deserve this? But I know I do. I have this. I've worked for this. It's still a battle. I'm not perfect, right? But it's also allowed me to be on stages like you see down there. I don't know if you can see it perfectly clear, but there's 3,000 people in that room right there and me. 3,000 people I get to tell a message to that changes their life that really statistically shouldn't exist, except for the fact that you guys exist. And so I leave you with this kind of same question I started with. When you get to the back end of your life and you start looking back on the life you've lived, who are you going to be? Right? The last person you ever want to meet your deathbed is the person you could have been. And it starts now. Like, this information I'm giving you, these steps I taught you, they're very simple, but they're very powerful if you can apply them. But the truth is, you're either going to be the person lying on the bed or sitting on the bed. And the choice is up to you of what you do. What I pray and I truly hope is that you make the decision that's in the direction of your dreams, the bigger ones. And then you lean in every single day and you take part in ways that allow individuals to serve those who can, because maybe it's not going to be you directly, but you can help organizations that do, like CPI. If you could, take a look at what they do and support your local organizations, like seriously, like support them in ways they need. Maybe they need your time, they may need some of your resources financially, but these people are doing the work to bring me out to do what I do, right? There's certain aspects of how that works and it helps, but to be honest, these kids are the most important piece of it all. And I wish the world ran on handshakes and hugs, but sometimes we can actually show up and do different things. So for me, it's like I look at this thing, and the way that you get to the back end of your life is you give. To be totally honest, I found that for me, the joy that I had for achieving is in no comparison to the joy I have for giving. And when you can fill up and then eventually give, man, it creates a whole different special space. So, man, first, thank you guys for showing up for you, for coming here for you, because this isn't about me. This is all about you. And I'm glad you came here for you to improve, be better. Two, thank you for letting me talk and share and unpack and bring my heart to you, because you don't have to listen to it. But I hope I connected in some way and gave you some nugget that helps me better. And three, if you can support, I believe there's probably some links. I'm not paying attention to chat. There's some links over here. If you guys can, by all means, help support the organizations. They're doing good work. Like, they're doing really good work. Because from when I was in the system to now, it's night and day. Now we do have the bad apples. That's statistically going to happen. It's not the best resource parents always out there, but there's so much more support and so much more love and so much more coming of this world because of the great things that you guys are doing. So one, thank you so much for doing that. And two, if you can, always support. So that's all I have for you guys. I believe that I can answer questions. I have until the top of the hour, which is 18 minutes. And I would love to answer any questions you got. I don't know what you may have, but thank you guys so much. And yeah, I'm here to hang out with you guys for a little bit. Here's a good one. Natalia says, Anthony, I'm looking into adopting siblings at teenage age. Any advice you can provide? So Natalia, I believe teenagers, and I have one, structure is big. Structure and boundaries and holding the line and never, because you got to think, if they're teenagers, they've been in the system for a while. There's a lot of reasons they haven't trusted. And this is logic. It's simple stuff, right? But the idea is not to appease them, but to give them what they haven't typically had, which is that love. Love them past crazy, but you got to set structure and boundaries and then hold the line. And then also be a person that makes good on promises. Never make a promise you can't keep. If you break their trust, even if it's breaking the trust of not following through with we'll call it like I don't want to call it a punishment. It's the wrong word for it, but like a discipline. If you don't follow through on that, there's a lack of trust. Can I trust this person? They said they're going to do this and they didn't do that. Can I trust? So you got to set boundaries to give them a box to work in so they can see what's going on. And people they bounce up against the walls, but set the boundaries, hold the structure, hold the line, be consistent, build trust. That would be my main focus for you. Build trust, show love. That's it. Build trust, show love. And over time, it'll make sense because they're also getting wiser. They can see the world differently. They're not perfect humans either. You're going to have a bunch of battles back and forth, but always lean in and build trust and show love. Crystal says, how do you suggest we help a male teen believe they can make shift happen? Oh, that's a great one. So first thing is introduce them to people that inspire you or could inspire them. People like myself, they can follow my work, but you got to get them in like, introductions to these people. They got to be able to see it's real. People see, and it makes them believe. That's just the way it works. So with these boys, you got to get them introduced to individuals whose story they can listen to, people they can hear, they can actually see themselves go, oh, wow, that person could do what I can. Then have, I mean, honestly, communication, if you can find ways to set up conversations and have them talk to these people, and then that helps immensely. Community will be the key, because also we rise the expectations of our peer group. Like they say, the average of 5 people you surround yourself with. I believe the average of 5 people's expectations you surround yourself with. So find groups that elevate their expectations, right? Put them in environments where they try to fit in by raising their expectations. They feel welcome as well. So in communication, in connection, but also community is a big, big thing. It takes a village, they say, and it genuinely does. Um, I have 2 areas of questions coming in. I'm gonna do my best to answer some. I have the Q&A box here. Someone says, not sure if this question is right for the presentation, but how do you discipline and show love at the same time? I'll tell you. The thing for me is I discipline. So all discipline doesn't have to be physical pain, right? So like I have 3 kids, and my 11-year-old, one of my twins, he is a tornado, man. And we're consistently having to discipline the guy, but he knows we love him. And so we do is we always, one, tell him why this is happening. We give him a warning, tell what's going to take place. When he does it, I hold the line. There's discipline. Go to your room, do your thing. He's pissed. He's a kid. But when he's done, when it all comes out, I will sit with him and give him the respect of explaining what's going on, having the conversation. Is it easy? No. He wants to put his head in the pillow. He don't want to listen. But the more I do it consistently, the more he starts to get it. I actually ask him questions, have conversation. And then also, if I'm wrong, because I am wrong at times, I apologize. I'm like, hey, I messed up. Like genuinely will sit in there and be like, look, I messed up, man. My fault. I owe you one. This was the wrong way, Dad. I should have acted that way. Shouldn't have said that thing. Like that's how I do it. So you show love by explaining the reasoning why. And then love is the thing is you can't only give negative attention. You got to give positive attention, which sounds odd too, right? Whenever they're doing something that seems simple and normal, sit there being quiet, praise it, show love, build that same emotion. Because the funny thing is the positive emotion will actually trigger their brain and they'll feel better. They won't be, as apt to go do different bad things, we'll call it. But the discipline aspect is hold the line, talk to them, be clear, and also praise the positives. I'm a single mom and massive social work student. May, do you have one piece of advice you could have for a brand new social worker? Oh, Stephanie, thank you. Thank you for being a social worker. One, listen to the kids. Get to know the kids. I know you have probably a huge caseload, and that is not the easiest thing to do. But there's things you can do where you can have little conversations. Is take notes. What I recommend is if you get a spreadsheet, take a picture. I don't know if you could do this. Take a picture, put it in there. And after every conversation, as best you can, just go drop a note in there as to what the conversation was. Just something that allows you to kind of be in touch. Because here's the cool thing. When you come back to the next conversation and you can recap the last one or bring a thought from the last conversation, just go, look, what did we talk about last time? It makes them have a different opening. It's a different connection. And the more you can connect with those kids, I'm telling you, the more they're going to be open and talk to you and share. And you get to have that bond. So your work isn't just a pile of papers and numbers and names, but it's people. And if you can create that in a really simple way, I believe that can be helpful for establishing a relationship for you and the kid, but also for them feeling like they matter. They just matter because somebody cares enough to actually know their name, and know their story. That actually goes a long way, I believe. As a Black child raised in a white family, what did you need to do? What did you need to be seen in the whole? Hold on. What did you need to be seen in the whole? Okay. What do white families need for Black placements? So I think for me, the communication, when my mom was like, I had my Black moments. I'd get called, slurs at school. It happened. It's part of the world. And her thing was always presenting to me the perspective of, it's not you. She said, yeah, it's not you, it's the people, but I want you to know where their heart is at. And this was logic. When people are very happy and in joyful places, they don't do things to make other people feel bad. You can only give out what you have inside. So if they are in a negative space, they give out that negativity to me in school and environments. And so when those would happen, my mom would sit with me and she'd tell me, look, I'm not a Black person. I don't know what it's like to live in your skin, but I do know this about people. People aren't always happy. If they're not happy, they don't want to see you happy sometimes. So at the end of the day, when they say these things, don't get angry, have compassion, because it's coming from a place of maybe that kid that's at home having some problems, right? I've been called weird things at the airports, in front of restaurants within the last couple of years. Like this is not, old stuff. And even in those moments, I just sit back and go, man, I don't know what's going on in this person's life, but it's got to be dark for them to feel the need to say this to somebody in public, like yell it in public. Man, I'm not even going to engage in that because I don't want to take that energy on. I got my kids, I press on. But you got to realize, man, tell these kids, like, It's not you. Some people just aren't good people. Don't bring their energy on. There's this great story of Gandhi, and he says, not that he said so, but somebody was talking about watching Gandhi, and someone comes up to him and says, "Hey, you're a horrible person. I hate you. I want to kill you." Da, da, da. Gandhi says, "Thank you. I don't think you get it. I want you to die. You da, 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 all this stuff, right?" And thank you. And he keeps doing. The guy just gets mad and walks off. And somebody goes up to him and says, "Hey, Gandhi, how can you let a guy just berate you like that and just say nothing?" And he says, "Well, if somebody comes up to give you a gift and you don't receive it, they then have to walk off with it. So if you don't absorb that, you don't take it in, they take it with them." So I live my life a lot of the time. So I would honestly recommend you talk to the kids because it helps give a different perspective. I'm a single parent. Do you have any suggestions on finding an AA make mentor for my son, big brother, big sis? Oh, I wish I did, Virginia. I don't know those organizations as much as I probably should. But I bet if you get a hold of the organization that actually set this up, they could probably give you some really good resources, of my guess. I would look into them. I would like to ask if you could shift a word that you use. You say, my real mom. I was just as adoptive parent using birth mom. That's not bad. Reserving real mom for the mom that cared for you. I appreciate that, Belinda. It's never a back and forth. I find that sometimes when I say different words, I've been saying them for years. My adoptive mom, she never had a problem with it. I guess I think she used to call it your real mom. To be honest, I think she never said your birth mom. She always said like your real mom. Da, da, da. That might be why my vernacular is that and has been, because my life growing up, she was like, "Well, your real mom's on the phone." Like this, she used to say, and I'd hop on my real mom on the phone. So it might be kind of why it is, but I like that. That's actually good. I appreciate that. I can hardly wait to share. Okay, Glade, what work does? Okay, we got that. Okay, good. I'm a Black woman who raised 3 young white sisters for almost 9 years. Thank you because your story. Oh, glad to hear that, Roy. Seriously. I have Sonia on the left side over here. So Lisa said, "Did you have a Casa? What advice might you have for Casa advocates to help kids own their shift?" Nice. I did not have a Casa. I didn't know they existed back then. I wish I would have had one. But what I would say is lean on your Casa community. Like you have your training, you know what's going on. So honestly, just lean on them. But then when it comes to the kids, and that's the same thing. I like that you're like that separate entity. You're not the social worker. You're not, invested as the resource parent or the parent. You're like that separate person. Be that non-judgmental, heart-filled person that shows up. Like the biggest thing for me was I needed to feel like I mattered. If you can just make me feel like I matter, like seriously, I would go find out these kids' love languages. Is it quality time? Is it words of affirmation? Obviously, positive touch. I wouldn't go that route. Is it gifts? Like whatever it might be, find out what their love language is and then show up and do that consistently. Be that resource they feel comfortable in, they can lean on, and then feel like they matter. That's the big thing. Make them feel like they matter. And it goes, honestly, endless ways it can go positively from there. Sonia says, I encouraged her. Thank you. So happy to hear that. I lost touch as a parent because of what they see. Yes. I want every child to know the sense they are loved. Not always easy, but so worth it. If one child feels genuine love, it is worth it. Your encouragement like yours. Awesome. Happy to hear it. Seriously. Forrest says, Anthony, do you think you will foster or adopt children? Forrest is a great question. And I've been asked this question many times. And actually, I've been to CASA organizations in different states. I've worked with a lot of different foster programs. I actually was just on yesterday a call. I sit in the board of an organization called Austin Angels, and it's actually Austin Angels, but called National Angels now. They have locations all over the country. But I sit in the board. And one of the conversations I had was like, should I be a foster parent? My wife and I have discussed it. But then somebody had told me like, hey, look, I'm not going to say not to be a foster parent, but they're like, sometimes the best thing is to reach the masses, not just the minuscule, so to speak. They're like if you have 1 or 2 foster kids, it might pull you away from the world in a way that allows you to serve more of those foster kids. So like if you can give the energy as opposed to giving it to one, give it the way you do to the many and reach a lot of kids. So like I have a greater impact here in this capacity, I feel, than if I had just one foster kid. However, it doesn't mean we won't. I love kids. Like I love my own kids. Like I love little people. It's so cool. So my wife and I have had discussions like, maybe it'd be good to have a foster kid as my twins go to middle school and have one of those kids that most people don't want because they're teenagers or middle school kids. And like, no, like have them come in and be loved and go through the process of showing them everything I'm telling you in stability. The one other problem is we're kind of a nomadic family. We move every couple of years just because we like to. It's a weird thing. The kids are good and school all works, but like we're going to move to Texas here in about maybe the next 4 or 5 months. So it'd be hard to be moving a foster child around that way. So it's kind of not also fit with our life groove, we'll call it. Must hop off. Maisie, very welcome. Glad you enjoyed it. Barbara, it's hard to apologize to some youth. Yeah. Some people do have some problematic stuff happen, Barbara, but it's all part of the story. At this point, I do not like that it happened, but I do appreciate that things happen. It's weird to say in that perspective, but it gives me a different sense of how things work. Anonymous attendee says, I'm a former foster youth. I had a hard time in high school finding my identity. I had every reason to give up. I had so many reasons to just say F it. At 24, I looked back at my life and realized I was the reason I was happy it was not my past. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Very uplifting. Happy to hear it, anonymous attendee. Thank you for sharing that. Lets me know I'm reaching. That's so cool. I'm glad you're on here, man. We're kindred. All of us are. I was recently made to feel wrong for seeing people as people, not a color. Is this wrong? What am I missing? So Kimberly, I'll tell you this. There's a lot of perspectives. No one's right. No one's wrong. It's all relative to the person. I get the heart of it. I think sometimes people try to pick words apart and not grasp the heart of a human. So when I see people get all up in arms for a lot of stuff, my thought immediately goes to, is that how that person meant it? Like, I don't want to see color. Like, no, you didn't mean that. But somebody picked that word and wanted to do something. And again, it goes to the same space. There's something going on with that person's perspective that just makes them feel like they got to do that. I get what you're saying, right? Yeah, people are people. I get it. People are humans, and we want that. I almost think because we have this aspiration, people think we don't see the plight. Not the case, man. At the end of the day, we understand, but where we want to be is a place where we're all just people. That's a positive thing. But also, don't feel bad because one person sees that way. That's humanity. We can't all agree on everything. We also don't all have to fight each other because we don't agree. That's my perspective. Do you go to group homes to talk to kids there? I have in the past, Amy, gone to group homes and talked. I don't as much. I don't get asked as frequently nowadays. I think it's just kind of the separation of where I kind of operate in my life. I'm not always present like I used to be. I was everywhere. But honestly, not as much, although I love to do it. My wife actually has some adult residential facilities. She had some group homes before. So I actually was hand in hand working alongside her in her business where she helped a lot of these kids. People don't remember what you said. Yes, Rachel, they do remember how you made them feel. Hasim Boss, the quote was, what you create creates you. So the process of creation will in turn create this internal sense of self. When you go through the process of building something, you don't get to the end of it and not have that return on the investment of I am great at this thing because you've done so much investment. Think about when you start all of a sudden, riding a bike, after a while, like you're a bike rider, you buy the shoes, you buy the shorts, you buy the helmet, and you're a bike rider now. You don't just do all that and go, yeah, I'm trying to ride a bike. No, like I'm a bike rider. At a certain point, you become that. And that's the process. It's hard. You fall off, scrape your knees, your legs burn up, you build up, right? But after a while, the investment it returns to you and feel like that's who I am. What is the cutoff age for a parent to foster? That might be a question for somebody outside of me. I'm not sure if it's the age of the parent, which I don't think there is a limit, but I think foster is up through 18, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Thanks so much. You're very welcome, Lisa. Very, very welcome, Maria. I don't know if there are any other questions. There probably are a couple. I'm going to see if I can get one more because I have to jump to another meeting. But is this on YouTube? I have no idea, Amy, if it's on YouTube. I'm not in control. The organization is. If you guys want to reach out to them, they'll probably give you the best information of where you can find this recording and where you can share it. But I pray that you share it. I hope it actually goes as far as we can to help people do some cool things with what I shared. That'd be kind of the goal for me. It'd be nice. How do you find me? Great question. If you want to find Anthony, the best way, I live a lot on Instagram. If you go to @Anthony Trucks, you can find me on Instagram. Or if you go to Facebook, Anthony Trucks, YouTube, Anthony Trucks, pretty much all social platforms. Or if you want to know more about me and my company, what we do, anthonytrucks.com. That's simplest way. Yes, Melanie, I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Meredith, yes, she says it'll be posted. We will email all attendees the recording. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Emma, anthonytrucks.com. I guess that's it. That's my time with you guys. Yeah, I appreciate you. Seriously, I seriously appreciate coming on, spending time, learning, engaging, and I hope it touches your heart and you can do something amazing with it. Yes, you're very welcome, Emma. Thank you so very much. There'll be a survey, I guess. So by all means, fill a survey out. I hope you fill out something amazing. I would love to hear some great things as a foster kid and just as a human being. I do like to know that I touched a heart. So if I did in some way touch your heart, I would love you to take a couple of minutes and just share. It'd be beautiful. So that's it. Take care, everybody. I'm going to let you guys go. God bless you and have a phenomenal rest of your week and your weekend ahead. See you guys.